In 2023, Wired published a detailed account of the construction taking place on Mark Zuckerberg's Kauai property, drawing on construction permits, contractor interviews, and other public records. What the reporting described was not the family retreat that Zuckerberg had characterized the project as when he began buying land in Hawaii nearly a decade earlier. It was a multi-structure compound with an underground component specified as blast-resistant, designed to operate independently of external infrastructure for extended periods, built at a cost that the magazine estimated at approximately $100 million for construction alone, separate from the land acquisition costs. Zuckerberg began purchasing acreage on Kauai around 2014. By the time the Wired investigation appeared, his holdings on the island had reached more than 1,400 acres, which amounts to roughly 2% of Kauai's total land area. The land was assembled under multiple entities to limit the visibility of any single acquisition in public records, a practice common in large private real estate accumulation. The main parcel is known as Kulau Ranch, and it sits on the island's north shore. The compound's construction generated substantial friction with local communities and led to litigation over traditional Hawaiian access rights. Hawaiian law recognizes certain historical pathways across private land, and Zuckerberg's development triggered disputes over whether those rights were being respected. The cases were covered in local Hawaiian news outlets and eventually settled, with Zuckerberg agreeing to preserve traditional access points. The conflict drew attention in Hawaii because Zuckerberg's land purchases had been large enough to affect property availability and values in a state where housing costs were already among the highest in the country. What the construction records and reporting describe, the underground component of the compound was the detail that generated the most attention when it became public. Construction permits filed in Hawaii described reinforced concrete structures below ground level with doors rated for blast resistance. The specifications in those permits indicate the design is intended to maintain habitability if the surface structures are damaged or compromised. Independent air filtration systems are included in the design, which is standard in facilities intended to remain functional during events that might affect atmospheric conditions above ground. The surface and underground facilities together are designed to produce food and power without relying on the external grid or supply chain. Solar generation is the primary power source, with diesel generation as a backup. Agricultural facilities on the property are built at a commercial rather than residential scale, sized to feed dozens of people over an indefinite period. Water comes from wells and is processed through filtration systems on site. These specifications are drawn from the construction documents and contractor accounts reported by Wired. The magazine's reporters spoke with people who worked on the project. The security infrastructure at the property includes a perimeter wall, surveillance systems, and on-site personnel. Access to the property is tightly controlled, and the surrounding community has noted the extent to which the compound's construction was conducted with minimal public-facing communication from Zuckerberg or his representatives. Construction workers who spoke with Wired generally did so without using their names. The compound is also designed as a residential property with living quarters, recreational facilities, and amenities that reflect its dual purpose as both a family property and a hardened survival facility. A treehouse constructed on the property became briefly famous when Zuckerberg posted about it publicly, but that structure is a small element of a much larger development. The underground levels, by contrast, were not publicized by Zuckerberg and became known primarily through the investigative reporting rather than voluntary disclosure. The total square footage of the underground component has not been definitively confirmed in public records. Wired's reporting described multiple levels, but did not specify exact dimensions. What the permits and contractor accounts do establish is that the facility is substantially larger than what would be required for a residential basement or basic utility space, and that the design specifications reflect deliberate preparation for scenarios in which surface structures are unsafe or inaccessible. The broader pattern among tech industry billionaires, Zuckerberg's compound is the most extensively documented example of what has become a recognizable pattern among a specific group of technology industry figures who have spent a portion of their accumulated wealth on properties and facilities designed to function if conventional society stops functioning. The pattern is not uniform, and the individuals involved do not appear to be coordinating, but several prominent cases have been reported. Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and early Facebook investor, obtained New Zealand citizenship in 2011, under circumstances that New Zealand's media later described as unusually favorable, and he has purchased property in New Zealand's South Island. When this was reported in 2017 by The Guardian and other outlets, it contributed to a broader discussion in New Zealand about wealthy foreigners acquiring land specifically as a crisis contingency. Thiel has said that he values New Zealand as a place to live and has not characterized his property there as a bunker or escape facility. But the combination of its remoteness, his citizenship acquisition, and his publicly expressed concern about catastrophic risks has led to widespread characterization of the property in those terms. Sam Altman, the chief executive of OpenAI, told The New Yorker in a 2016 profile that he had prepared survival provisions and had an arrangement with a friend who is a professional investor to help each other evacuate if a catastrophic scenario materialized. The profile was written before Altman became a major public figure through OpenAI, and his comments were treated at the time as a curiosity about Silicon Valley culture, rather than a statement about AI risk specifically. The context has changed substantially since then, given that Altman now leads the most prominent organization working on artificial general intelligence. Jeff Bezos does not appear to have publicly prepared a survival facility in the way that Zuckerberg's compound or Thiel's New Zealand property have been characterized, but he has invested substantially in Blue Origin, which among other stated goals includes the eventual transfer of some portion of human activity and population off Earth. Bezos has described this goal in terms of environmental preservation for Earth rather than survival preparation for himself. But the underlying logic that concentrating all of human civilization on one planet represents an unacceptable risk overlaps with the reasoning some bunker investors give for their preparations. The common thread among these cases is a specific view about systemic risk that is more prevalent among this group than in the general population. The people involved have generally made their wealth by identifying failure modes in existing systems in building alternatives. Their assessments of societal risk appear to follow the same logic. They see vulnerabilities in the systems most people rely on and are both able and inclined to prepare contingencies. Whether those assessments are accurate is a separate question from whether the preparations are real, and the preparations, in Zuckerberg's case at least, are demonstrably real. What the Kauai compound represents in material terms is a facility built to the specification that external society might become unavailable and that the people inside the compound should be able to continue living and functioning regardless. That specification is not unusual for government continuity of operations facilities, military bunkers, or certain industrial installations. It is unusual for a private residence. The construction cost, the scale of the food and energy infrastructure, and the blast-resistant specification of the underground component together indicate that Zuckerberg's team was not preparing for a temporary disruption, but for a scenario in which the disruption is severe enough that normal supply chains and utilities are not restored within any predictable time frame. Whether that level of preparation reflects rational risk assessment or excessive caution about low-probability scenarios is a question the facts do not answer. What the facts establish is that the facility exists, that it is built to those specifications, that it cost approximately $100 million to construct, and that it is owned by the most powerful individual in the social media industry at a moment when the risks associated with that industry are themselves subjects of significant public and regulatory attention. If this breakdown of what has been built and reported on Zuckerberg's Kauai property changed how you think about how technology billionaires are spending their money, hit like, subscribe for more investigations into technology and power, and drop a comment with what you think motivates this kind of preparation.